Welcome to episode 47 of Comic Book Nation.
Hold on a second, you're not Kofi Outlaw.
I was gonna get there. Wow, the tradition of cutting off the host's segues is alive and well.
Some trouble here.
I was gonna get there. A couple shades lighter. Right there, right at you. Yeah, buddy.
I thought you were not going to say that.
See what you do, see what you do. I am your host, Matt Aguilar. Of course, I am not Kofi Outlaw. He is getting a tan. He's vacaying, enjoying some time off. So I hope to keep the champs, the still champs, Kofi Outlaw's trend alive. Joining us on the couch, though, is Charlie Ridgely, our Disney expert extraordinaire. And then Jim Viscardi is
Just overall expert.
leaving from the producer. Man, Jesus. This is getting out to
Matt,
a wonderful...
you will not finish the sentence this
I
entire
have
time.
not. I have yet to do that. So we got a lot of Disney stuff. It works out perfectly that you guys are here because we got a lot of Disney stuff to talk about. We also have some Game of Thrones, which I will pretty much let y'all roll with because I know jack about Game of Thrones. And we also have Stranger Things. Charlie's going to give us the lowdown on the whole thing, and we're going to run through some comics. So let's get started. We got a ton of stuff to talk about. First off, The Little Mermaid live action adaptation finally has its Ariel. So Halle Bailey, which caused
Not Halle Berry.
Yes, which caused the internet to just go in an uproar and not understand.
I would
Even
watch
I had
it
it.
either way, though. I want to make that clear.
Yeah.
I would watch Halle Berry's Little Mermaid at any point in her career.
Well, that's how it was told to me. And JK told me Halle Berry is Ariel. And I was like, huh? Like, it took me a minute to
You didn't
compute.
just like mumble through it.
No, he really said it. And then he was like, oh, no. And I was like, I'm excited both ways. Like, it works out. So, one, what do we think about the casting? Because it did get a lot of different reactions. Of course, if you don't know who Halle Bailey is, she's actually from a R&B duo. She's a singer, so she'll be able to handle, if you've heard her sing, she'll be able to handle
There's
all
a
those big
bunch of
parts.
video out there of her just showing her chops, singing, both just sort of like off the cuff, and then obviously there's all her produced stuff.
Yeah,
But
the one that kind of went viral when she got cast was her singing Unforgettable.
Yep.
And it's really, really good.
Yeah.
Got a
She's-
lot of Ariel vibe to it. I really like it.
Like, she's going to knock it out of the park. So far, they filled some of the other cast. Of course, the big one is that we know Melissa McCarthy is in talks to join as Ursula, which I am on board for. I was on board as soon as that was announced. I guess the biggest thing we need to see, though, is who plays Sebastian, because Sebastian is the other big part of those musical numbers, some of the most iconic songs. Who would you have play Sebastian? Who would you have the
So you're
voice?
saying Sebastian's wearing like Prince Eric and King Triton?
Yep.
And
As far as the singing
Sebastian?
goes,
Yes, he's a major part of like, all the big
of
songs.
the vocal performances, but of the movie
Kiss
itself.
the Girl.
He's
Under the
gonna
Sea.
be a big part of
Prince
those
Eric's a
parts.
big deal.
Prince Eric barely has a role
Yeah, who
in
cares
that
about
movie.
Prince Eric?
He's just a pretty
important.
face.
And
It's
the
not.
casting has been such an issue on the internet.
He's
Like,
a pretty
that's a
face
big thing.
that happens to defeat Ursula. Okay.
I mean, that one you just said the internet has a problem with it. Internet has a problem with everything.
Well,
if
I'm saying,
I
like,
counted
the
that,
casting him has been the big conversation on the internet.
But
and
to me, that's so important when the whole movie is called The Little Mermaid. It's not called The Little Mermaid and the dude she ends up
it's not
with.
called
Like,
Little Mermaid and the Lobster
it's-
either. But
he's such a big part of 90% of the movie.
I agree. He's important. I agree with you.
That's the like
Because Jacob Tremblay is playing Flounder, right?
Yeah.
And who's Aquafina playing?
oh god, the seagull, and I'm
Okay.
blanking on the name of the
Okay,
seagull,
but not
Scuttle.
Sebastian.
yes, no. So,
Okay.
which I'm also excited about Aquafina.
You're supposed to be the Disney expert. You don't remember the seagull's name?
I know Sebastian. The seagull doesn't matter, just like he said.
Here's the thing. So you actually brought this up. There's been a lot of debate. There's been a lot of internet debate. Now you brought up over Prince Eric. I totally missed that. The debate I saw was about Halle Bailey's casting because
I
this
was
will,
just
of course,
ignoring those people.
Okay, well, yes, they should be ignored 90 times
Sure.
out of 100. However, we're going to only mention it because Freeform, just out of like nowhere, Freeform, someone tapped Freeform on the shoulder and went, hey, you should respond to these trolls. And it's a fantastic thing. So I almost just want to read it verbatim. We'll have the link and everything that you can go to the full one. But here's how it starts. Yes, the original author of The Little Mermaid was Danish. Ariel is a mermaid. She lives in an underwater kingdom in international waters and can legit swim wherever she wants, even though that often upsets King Triton. Absolute zaddy. I don't know what that means, actually. I'm
Zaddy's
lost on
a
that.
young
Yeah,
girl.
yeah.
Thank you.
It's a whole,
I've shown
Anna
my age
Rimmer
right
had
now.
to explain to me like last year what that meant, and it took hours. It was a lot.
Fair enough. I don't feel so bad now. But for the sake of argument, let's say that Ariel, too, is Danish. Danish mermaids can be black because Danish people can be black. And it goes on to, like, essentially just slap around those trolls. It's amazing.
It's amazing. But as far as Sebastian, I don't know what I would do to
You don't have
answer your
anyone in
question.
mind?
I didn't have a chance to. I've been thinking about Prince Eric this whole time about who to cast with her, and that I don't love Melissa McCarthy as Ursula. I don't hate it. I think she can step up, and I want to see it, but I don't.
I mean, step up.
It's not my. It's not my. I mean, Ursula's real intense and really petty, and I want to see. I'm sure she does a great job.
I mean, McCarthy though.
I'm not totally sold.
I mean, that movie that's coming out, I can't remember the name of it. The one with like where she's
The Kitchen.
Well,
no, the other one. The one where she's
Did you not watch-
forging the.
Oh, that came out
books.
last year. You ever forgive me?
Like she's got
She's got the
chops.
drama chops. She
yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Have you not seen The Boss?
Oh,
And the boss is fairly funny, but it's not like you don't take her seriously as a terrible person. You know, like I want to see her be a villain, and I'm not saying she can't. I am a fan of Melissa McCarthy. I'm not totally sold on it, and there were some different ideas out there, and some other actors who maybe like.
It's just the Little Mermaid, right? Like,
I'm just saying, I'm open minded. I'm just not sold on it yet. I'm more sold on Ariel than I am on.
Man, I got more
Ursula
pushback on this than
at
I
this point.
assumed. I understand what Kofi feels like now. Like, it's like, oh yeah, I thought that was a slam dunk, and like, no, I got all kinds of pushback. So Disney just picked kind of weird times to just drop trailers. So we also got the first trailer for Mulan teaser trailer. So what did you guys feel about that? I'm kind of interested because Mulan,
like tonally is way different than I think people expected. Like they're clearly going more action based than they are the the more, I would say, fantastic songy.
Silly.
Silly.
not in a bad way,
I mean,
but,
Mushu's
like,
not in it, right? Like
fun and
Mushu's
silly.
still reportedly not in it, and so it was just way more intense than I think anyone expected. But I loved it.
Yeah, I'm very into that as well.
like, did you like the original?
Yeah, and I
loved it.
I love the original, and I'm gonna continue to watch.
And it was cool to see a lot of those set pieces in live act, like they're like the
Yeah, when they put
avalanche
both
and-
like when they put both trailers like next to each other, and you really saw like, oh my god, that's like a shot for shot
Yeah.
recreation. I get it's one of those things, right? I get where we are.
Mulan has some of the best Disney songs, though.
It
which
does.
is why I think that's upsetting a lot of people.
Yeah, but those songs aren't going anywhere. You know, like
Right, but
we still have
but a lot of the
movie.
whole allure to these movies are the songs.
Right, and I
That's why
I
Beauty and the
get
Beast
that.
did so well.
Absolutely. But
That's why
you
Lion
got
King is going to
Mulan,
do well. It's
which
why
is
Aladdin did better than anyone expected.
Really, I agree, and I think that you can do that. But this is the Disney live action movie I've been excited for the longest because there is a chance to change it up and do something completely different. Because the Mulan story is so intense and so genuine, and it's not.
But that's why I
funny
think
at
why
all.
the animated movie. That's why I think why the animated movie is so good. It hits all the goofy notes and gets
well.
very serious.
Yeah, but I also think that and there'll be funny things in this, because they still have Ling and Po, they still have the comedic relief characters in the movie, but I think it's going toward like Chinese culture and the whole like the Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon side of filmmaking, like really getting into what that kind of action film can look like.
You saying?
And I'm
they don't
really
like songs. I don't.
Well, see,
I mean,
so for
I'm
me,
just saying they're going for that
halfway
tone over a
through,
musical.
the trailer hooked me. It didn't hook me right away. I was still like, oh, I'm on board.
Once the action started.
Once that action started, and so far it looks amazing. I also didn't realize until this trailer hit how, I guess, in time, widely disputed the original Mulan is as far as its representations of culture, Chinese culture specifically. That's why Mushu.
China was not a fan of the original.
Well, they hated Mushu. They hated what the little red dragon adopted because it has actual meaning. I mean, it would have been like Coco if Coco hadn't handled those traditions, those Latin
heritage.
traditions as honorably as they did. You would have had the same thing. And evidently that's a huge deal. That like Mulan was never one of my favorites, but I always enjoyed it. So I never kind of grasped onto that. But evidently that's a huge thing. So that side of fandom is loving this. Like it's got a huge reaction. And there is debate about Mushu, whether he should be in it as something else, reimagine it, make it. I mean, look, you can have a little red pet or a dragon or something, but just don't tie it to something that has actual meaning to that culture, to that people, right? Don't co-opt something real and just make it like, oh, hey, it's a fun little.
I wonder if they're going to keep the cricket.
I mean, because the cricket's something you can do pretty easily.
Where's the cricket get
and
wicked?
pretty the cricket can kind of be that little physical humor object that.
I do agree,
around.
though. I want songs. Like, those are such a hallmark of just Disney. But, like, why do a Disney live-action adaptation if you're not going to do songs?
I want.
And that's what I think was the biggest misstep of the Cinderella movie.
Like, yeah. Like,
The Cinderella movie, I didn't like.
those don't work.
They don't
Like,
work.
I mean, but Cinderella was is on its own. Here's this like princess fairy tale story, and Mulan is like a war epic.
But we're talking about, but we're not adopting
But the
Cinderella.
songs, right?
We're
But the
adopting
songs aren't.
Disney's Cinderella, and it's such a huge
I know.
part
I
of
think
that
this
is music.
This movie took a lot from the original story in addition to Disney's version. I would like the songs also, but maybe not performed by the people in the movie as part of the movie, just in the film, like as songs in the background.
Also,
as
this
these set pieces.
director has been a little wishy-washy on it. Like, at one point it was, yes, we're having them, and another point it was no. Now we're back.
I imagine the music will be part of the score.
Yeah.
Just no singing.
And you won't get them singing. Yeah. And which is a bummer. 'cause
And then
Mulan
you'll
has
get
some great songs.
you'll get an end credits by whatever mega.
Who's the duo that's going to do this one? We had Will Smith and DJ Khaled do Aladdin's. Who's doing the Mulan song? No? You don't have any offers? J. Cole?
No.
J. Cole will do that?
No, it's gonna be like watch. It'll be like they're gonna have Aquafina do it.
Who is the most popular artist in China? Because that's like they'll get the biggest Chinese artist to do it, and that'll be like
don't know,
it'll be a big part of the movement around the movie.
That's a good question. I do actually not know that, and I don't want to just throw out a name either and get a bunch of hate mail. So what we will do, though, is move on to another live-action one. I know Kofi knocked me down for bringing this up one day, and now, of course, it works out that the Maleficent
he's
trailer
gone, so-
drops when I'm in the host chair, so I'm very excited. Maleficent, Mistress of Evil, the sequel to the original that we've been kind of waiting a long time for. Angelina Jolie returning. Michelle Pfeiffer is also being added to this one. I was all in. I mean, I really enjoyed the first one for taking because they took, instead of just recreating Sleeping Beauty, I liked it for that it tried to tell something different, though.
I really just like that Lord song.
Well, that was good too. Just the visuals too. Just everything about this.
The visuals and like the character designs for the creatures in the first one are like
I just didn't like that they're like trying to make this villain sympathetic, and I'm just like,
I wasn't a big.
I don't care.
I wasn't big into the movie.
I liked the movie. I liked the
Yeah.
movie. Don't get me wrong. I liked the movie. I just don't know if we need more. We have to that's a well we need to go back to.
Here's the thing. I've never cared about Sleeping Beauty as a entire.
This movie made me care more
Yes.
about Sleeping Beauty than
This
than
is
anything
what
else.
did it.
Oh, absolutely, for sure. But do we need another movie about Maleficent?
I don't know. I think there's more to explore there. I think this is it. I mean, I think after this,
I would rather them just adapt Sleeping Beauty.
so
I
boring.
don't care about really either one.
Adapt a movie like Oliver and Company instead.
Yeah.
But adapt Sleeping Beauty with Angelina Jolie as Maleficent. Like we got the backstory, we know what led up to it. Now let's see it.
I mean, to be fair, I think you will actually see a lot of that story in the second half of this because the trailer does lean more into that, seeing her make
Does
that
she
transition.
turn into a dragon?
And
I need that.
the back half, like talking about the
That's
back
all I
half,
want. I just need one of these live action movies to give me Maleficent as a dragon, then I'll be fine.
I was
Otherwise,
really I don't like the first movie, so whatever. And then I
Kofi
watched
hates
this trailer, and I was not very into it because it looks like more of the same thing.
Yeah.
Until the very end, and you have Chiwetel Ejiofor. Is that how I always mess his name up.
Ejiofor.
Yeah, I always mess his name up, and he comes out as like this other creature
good at
like her,
everything.
and he's got those like dark eyes and horns and I was like, oh, this dude. Like, I will go see it because I want to see whatever he's about to do.
Well, because you're seeing more of like her. You're essentially seeing like the people or the like organization or whatever. You're seeing more of that backstory. That's really interesting because Maleficent is an awesome villain visually. No depth. Even in like the Kingdom Hearts games and stuff, when they bring her out, she's awesome and you love it. And you're like, I don't know who that is.
Crazy witch lady.
It's just a great
I
design.
think it's
Yeah.
the same reason why like it doesn't work when you try to explore a whole story because she doesn't need it. It's just like she's evil and crazy and like all powerful, and that's it. Kind of like Darth Vader. Like when you get into the prequels, it doesn't work as well. Like Darth Vader in the original movies is just
Here's the thing,
Darth
though.
Vader.
In subsequent, because I agree with you sometimes, but I agree with you sometimes. In this particular instance, I used to think that about like characters like Rita Repulsa, villains who are very like
One note.
cut and dry, whatever. And then you see someone given time and space to add to them. And to me, they will never become,
What's it?
this like, they're on a different tier.
There are no such thing as bad characters, just bad story.
Yes.
Right? And so
Rita Repulsa became a great character. Yes, it's only a few layers deep, but there's more to that character than just this paper thin whatever.
I agree there can be because
Yeah.
you have to add to it the right way, and you have to bring something new to the table that makes it exciting, and makes it a story worth telling. And I don't know if these Maleficent movies are that.
Yeah.
this one's just a weird one because it's just kind of like we knew it was coming, but we didn't know when. And then they were like, "Oh, by the way, it's going to be this year." And now we're 2 trailers in. It's
Because
like,
it was originally
what
like
is
March
going
or
on?
something of next year,
Something like
and
that.
it got moved up when they decided to move Artemis Fowl back. Yeah,
October.
Yeah.
because now that they own
Like
Fox,
they've had
they
this
do
one in the
every
can for like.
Yeah, I don't
2
know
years.
that and it was also odd to drop this so close to Mulan. Like, because those
You mean the trailer?
the trailers, like for those to drop kind of close to each other, I thought.
Well, they've
why
got
wouldn't you
Lion. They've got
Lion
Lion
King
coming
next
up,
week,
so they
yeah.
need to put all these trailers in front of them.
I mean, yeah, I guess that's what it breaks down to. So you two are more Game of Thrones people than me. I'm not the biggest Game of Thrones
Now,
fan.
I only got into Game of Thrones last season, but now I feel like I know everything about Game of Thrones.
which is
don't.
not true.
But I know enough to be dangerous.
Oh God. Okay. So would you say you are in withdrawal? Are you missing? Are you wanting more Game of Thrones? Are you sad that it's gone?
Not yet.
Okay. Well, you're gonna get a prequel series.
Oh, I mean, I'm excited for that.
excited?
If you watch the whole series, like the final season did kind of put a bad taste in your mouth. But I mean, there's so much more story to tell that, like when it arrives, when there is a new prequel series here telling a different story from Westeros, like
Yeah.
I'm gonna be excited about what it has to offer because it's such a deep mythology and such an exciting mythology that even the downfall of Game of Thrones in this final season, I don't think will damper that excitement for me because there's so much that they can still do with it.
Here's what I liked about only watching the last season. The first couple episodes kind of told me everything that I needed to know about those characters, why I needed to like them, and why I didn't need to like them. And it made every episode feel like an event because we were building to something and then it was going to be over. I don't know, like in the same reason why I didn't watch or, jump in when it started getting hot every other season of Game of Thrones. Like the world to me is not necessarily as interesting until the stakes are basically ratcheted up to 11 for me to jump in and then get excited.
So okay, so now, and to put this into context, essentially,
George R. Martin opened
has
his mouth.
Well, yes, he's done it a couple of times now.
Not on his blog though. He had an official interview this time, which makes it a little more legit. He
And he
sat
hasn't
down and had an
walked
interview
it
about
back a day later,
Yeah.
so this seems legit. Essentially, he previously revealed a title that he wanted to name the prequel series. That was HBO then came out and said, no, it doesn't have a title. Then he was like, oh, that was just me. And then now it's like, well, I think they have a title, The Longest Night. And if that's the title, then I'd be cool with that.
That's an awful title.
The Longest Night.
What is it going to be? Game of Thrones: The Longest Night? Like, is that?
That's
it-
that's what he
Game of
that's
Thrones
what
presents
He's
The
hearing.
Longest Night.
I heard a suggestion that it could be called The Longest Night. And
I think they'll just
variant, I
call
wouldn't
it
mind.
what it is. They're not gonna I don't think they're gonna try to.
What are they gonna call it?
Thrones
But
in
is it
front of
going to be The Longest Night?
I mean,
Be
just
better
the
than
longest
Blood
night.
Moon, which is the
Yeah,
working
the,
title.
yeah, Blood Moon's the working title, and the Long Night was the original title because if you have watched Game of Thrones, the whole they talk about the long night,
I don't
and the long
appreciate
winter.
that shade.
It's a whole subject of this world they live in doesn't work in the same kind of cycles like our world works in, where you have the whole winter is coming thing was that winter's going to bring on the long night. It's going to last for generations, and we're going to be stuck in this turmoil for a long time. And the summer is the period of decades and decades where everything is okay, and they can actually grow and build and move. And so the long night is kind of taking it back to referring to that period of real of dark time in the history. And so I think that this would explore kind of the onset of that, and that is something that's really exciting to me. And then they use that. The reason they don't want to use the long night, I think, is they use that as an episode title in the final season. The big battle episode.
And they don't want to
was the long night.
do it. Yeah.
But some of the things that George R. R. Martin did say, there will be Starks,
Mm-hmm.
there will be dire wolves, there will also be mammoths, which we saw from set photos.
Mm-hmm.
There may or may not be Lannisters. And there's going to be, what, like 1,000
different kingdoms and
Kingdoms?
stuff. 'Cause it was all broken up.
So you're saying those things as in like those should be things to get you excited, but you don't seem excited. So you're not. So this pops on, even though you've gotten like you got Game of Thrones fever by the time the show was.
Yep.
You're
I was
not
in.
gonna watch this?
I wanted to watch every episode when they were coming out. No. I mean, I'll check it out.
Yeah.
I don't anticipate being in on the long haul.
See, I'm excited, but the stuff he's saying isn't like, oh, that's the thing I was waiting for, and I'm now more excited. Like he can say whatever he wants. The production can say whatever they want. Like I'm going to be the same amount of excited until I see something from it.
Yeah.
Like Game of Thrones prequel, they have Naomi Watts is one of the stars of the show.
Great,
like
yeah.
there's some really great talent attached to it. Really great creative team. I will be the same amount of excited for it, up until the point where I see some photos or a trailer or something and realize like, okay, this is what I'm in for, and then I can gauge how to feel about it and how excited I am. But when it comes out, I'm going to watch it.
I just love HBO made a point to be like, we don't have to make another Game of Thrones. Keep the lights on. We're not. That's not why we're doing this. And I was like,
But they do.
I get it. They don't have.
I mean,
to
it's an expensive show to make.
Yeah.
So I imagine
they're putting mammoths on TV. That's not it's not cheap.
Yeah, and right now it's just going to be a pilot, right? So and all
Yes.
that. Okay, speaking of HBO, it's a perfect segue into this next topic. So Warner Media has their new streaming service because everybody has their own streaming service. I will have one sooner than later.
Oh, what are you streaming on it?
It's mostly going to be Golden Palace because that is the only thing I could probably get the rights to for cheap. Right now they're all free on YouTube. So there you go. And then also like random short films. I'll make my own short films.
Okay, Warner Media.
Warner Media is going to be HBO Max is the new title. That is going to be their streaming service. You both don't seem very excited about this. Now, here's the content they're going to have right out the gate. Well, actually, not right out the gate. In 2020, early 2020,
That's when they're launching.
Well, yeah, but I'm saying like we don't know the exact, right? Because they haven't said an exact month.
I think they said that. Well, no, they haven't said a
early
month.
Yeah.
They said early 2020 at launch they will have.
Okay, so they will have it at launch. So it'll be Friends migrating over from Netflix, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and then they will also
Which I don't think is streaming anywhere right now, right?
No.
Yeah.
Like we watch it all the time, but it's on DVDs. And then they will also become the new the new home for CW's Batwoman series and the Riverdale spinoff.
Yeah, basically what they're making on CW going forward.
Yeah.
And then there's also they have their own original series. There's about 10 projects right now. The
One
Dune
is apparently a
series,
Dune thing. Yeah.
which got
Animated
like 5 people excited.
Gremlins prequel. It's going to be on there.
Yeah, the animated.
Yeah.
No, it's an animated.
Yeah, it's animated.
Yeah. Which I will just reserve after getting burned with Fast and the Furious animated.
I mean, that's going to be
I'm gonna reserve my excitement.
That's just a money thing.
Here's the weirdest.
Zay Chun's writing it. I love
Here's the
him.
weirdest thing
He's
about
good.
it all. To me, this name totally dilutes the HBO brand. Because
Really?
HBO to me is high quality live action scripted content, not a place to go watch Friends.
But I think that's what they're going for, is that like you're going to know the name of HBO as a premium name.
But HBO, you don't associate HBO with Friends or Fresh
No,
Prince
but
of Bel-Air.
a new
That's
generation
part of
of
their,
streaming.
like when you
Charmed
purchase
or-
that service, though, half of it. I mean, because you'll go through the original stuff fairly quickly.
But why not just
Half
call it
of
a,
it's just
why not
watching
call it a
movies
Warner
that just
thing?
came out 2 months ago. Like that's half.
Because I don't know.
HBO.
I don't know if Warner.
But Max sounds like almost too adult.
Oh, I mean the name is horrible. I'm with you on that 100%. The name is terrible. I don't like. I think that Warner Brothers is making the right call by somehow associating it with HBO, because that's a brand people strive for and that want to read. Like when it's Warner Brothers,
But it's not like
another
people
studio
don't
making,
know about Warner Brothers.
No, it's just like here's another studio making a streaming service. Like
So what?
HBO is like something people already pay for, and it's like okay, I don't mind now paying for
I would
HBO.
rather
That's
than
where
ju-
I think though their thinking is really just. I mean, the name is fine. Like it doesn't bother me, but I think they're hoping that people like me who have been on the fence for a long time and have never consistently had an HBO subscription, because honestly, I didn't see the value in it other than like a show here, a show here. You want to bum someone's HBO for a month. You don't want to subscribe to it because it was always also a little pricier than the other services, right?
Right.
So this would get someone like me. This has enough other content that people like me who really use these streaming services as, other than the exclusive stuff, just like to have on in the background, like while we're doing something else. Like, I don't know how many times I have Netflix on. I'm not necessarily watching anything. I've literally have it on for noise, and it's Friends, it's Frasier. It's like these shows that, you know, you've seen 80 million times, you still laugh. Like, it's that kind of thing. That kind of content lures mainstream in. The people who aren't currently subscribing to HBO. If you can get us, that's a whole pool.
What you mean? Why not just name it a Warner's thing, and then for $3 more, you get access to HBO?
See, I think that
because you're not leading with their strongest foot forward.
Yeah.
No one cares about the Warner.
Because I also think that Warner,
they don't know what that means, but they know what HBO
people
means.
will associate Warner and Warner Brothers with movies. I think I always have thought about, until this job where I'm writing about DC television all the time. Like, I've always thought about Warner and movies. So it's like, okay, I can buy Wonder Woman, and then why do I need the streaming service? You know, like, it kind of, they want you to know that it's so much more than that. And like, it focuses on TV. I think HBO Max is not a great name to go with, but I see why they leaned into the HBO side of it. Because then, you know, you said bring someone else, someone new in. For me, I already pay for HBO.
Yeah.
And so if it's a couple dollars more to then get all of this stuff, I have no problem signing up for it, because then it's just a little extra on what I'm already doing.
As crazy as it is, the HBO name in there doesn't really regard the current HBO customer base, because they know they have you.
Right.
Like, you're just going to upgrade, you get extra content, cool. It's for us people who are just kind of sitting on the fringe, just watching and going, okay, I've always wanted HBO, and I can get this extra content.
Right.
Okay, I might pop for it. It might be the thing that actually gets me into your service. And we all know with streaming services, the minute you sign up and you put your credit card in, you're likely there for 6 months just because you honestly forget to unsubscribe. Like, that's how they work, right? Real quick, before we move into our deep dive segment, I just did want to give a shout out. Our anime expert, Megan Peters, was at Anime Expo recently, and so there is a ton of anime coverage
You
on
get
the
to see
site.
a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, including, and of course, some of the big announcements were the new Akira series continuation. Now, that's just anime right now. It's not the manga, but of course, they're kind of hoping that both get done. Also, a bunch of new My Hero stuff they got to see, I think, the first 2 episodes of season 4. And then also there's a new movie project. So there's a ton of that stuff coming. So there's stuff already on the site right now. And then over the next week or so, you will still see coverage. So make sure to check out the site on Comicbook.com. So let's take a break, and then we'll get into some comics and Stranger Things. All right, so gonna live up to the name, as Kofi says. I did his line. We're gonna live up to the name, do some comics here.
I hope he's listening.
I really do, because that was like a nice homage. So first, really quick, while we're talking about anime coverage, we do a ton of weekly comic book coverage here as well. So on Tuesdays, you will see the weekly pool, which is the comic book staff's picks for the week, stuff we're looking forward to, stuff that we want to read and we want to point out, make sure there's a ton of stuff hitting racks, so we always want to give highlight to those. And then on Wednesdays, we have the weekly reviews, which I can't remember the exact number, but it's like upwards of like 30, 40, sometimes 50 books that we're reviewing every week. So if you're on the fence about a series or whatever, go check out some of those. You can see like the whole series line in a couple of weeks, and make sure to check that out. So first off, we're going to get to something kind of weird. If you're a fan of the Black Hammer universe at Dark Horse, they are actually doing a crossover with Justice League. That series starts today. And I mean, I'm not the biggest Black Hammer guy, but I will kind of give this a shot just because, one, I've seen some previous stuff of it. It looks pretty interesting. And giving that these characters are so kind of weird and unique, and seeing how some of the more, straight-laced Justice League characters and DC characters line up against them is always kind of interesting. So definitely check that out. You knew you weren't going to get very far without me mentioning Go-Go Power Rangers, number 21. This book is actually kind of the beginning. It's the first Go-Go that is post Shattered Grid, which was the big event that kind of changed up the Power Rangers universe in the comics. You're going to see a lot of Green Ranger stuff, but I'm telling you, it is not like you expect at all. So prepare to be surprised, and there are some really cool revelations in it, so you want to check that out. Detective Comics number 1007. I have never cared one iota about the Spectre. I've never cared about the Spectre. That character is just whatever. It's just never done it for me. This too. Tomasi has done it, and I'm blanking on the artist's name, and I'll have it. It's actually in my review. It's one of the books I reviewed this week. But the art is fantastic. It's just so cool and different. It makes the Spectre this imposing figure that he should be, and seeing like Batman be the only one to put someone like the Spectre in his place is like a thing of beauty. It is really, it's only 2 issues.
That's why Batman is too OP, man.
I mean, he really is here. I mean, he's talking to like an entity and talking to him like he's a little brat. He's like, tone it down. But it's so good. And this is only a 2-parter, so you can just read this in the last issue, get the whole story.
I love stories like that.
Yeah.
That are just like that quick breather in and out before, in between other big stories. And
it ends in a way that like, you're like, okay, like you don't feel robbed.
Yep.
You leave things open enough. It's fantastic. So if you do want to check out a Spectre story that you will care about, this is actually just really, really fun. Also, Event Leviathan, and one of the worst named
while we're
events.
talking
This
about
is
terrible names for things.
It's a bad name. It's not a good name.
it's not the worst.
It makes me think there's like
It's not a great
an
name.
event happening.
It's worse than
pay
HBO
attention
Max.
to.
Can I put it that
It
way?
is not worse than
is.
HBO
But
Max.
Okay, if you are within,
Like, what does that even mean?
like, if you're knowledgeable about what's been going on in certain DC books, not even all, just certain ones, namely Action Comics, you'll know that Event Leviathan, like, the Leviathan is the name of this organization that has essentially taken out all of the government monitoring agencies. So like Spiral, like Suicide Squad, like Task Force X, all that stuff is gone and they've just vanished and been like destroyed and all that. And this Leviathan is a group that we are learning more and more about. That's the but the book itself is just a really interesting detective story most of the way through. I mean, it's really about Lois Lane, Batman, Green Arrow, the Question.
It's a really interesting group of characters.
Yeah, it's a really interesting group, and here it gets even like that part of the story is so engaging. I hope they don't pull the rug out and make the mystery person like who they're very heavily leaning to that it is, because I think that'll be, and I won't say it here, but
Who?
it really seems possible spoiler. I don't know if this.
Yeah, you could be totally
I could
wrong.
be totally wrong. Roy Harper is who
God,
it is. Yes, is who it is leaning so into. Now, if it's not him, great, cool, surprise me. But there are already things of like this is starting to line up.
Now that you mention it, I'm like, oh.
Yeah. And there's one line in here that like it was specifically done, and then it makes sure that in the next paragraph it like goes a different direction, but you're like, that seems way too.
I haven't had a chance to read it. Is it cleaner than the first episode? The first issue. The first
Like
issue
from art-wise?
it was pretty muddy.
No, you're gonna have some of the same.
I thought this book
If you
was
didn't like
about,
the first issue.
like, a giant space monster.
But this one is so question heavy. I love the question when it's used right.
I love the design of Leviathan, which I think is
it's cool.
really, really great. And I love when Bendis and Maleev get together, but this one is just that first episode was. God, I don't know why I'm saying that. That first issue was tough to get through.
This one's the same. Like you'll have kind of the same thing. The places it takes place in, like half of it, are naturally brighter, so it's not as muddy. But that's just because of the environment. It's not anything to do with the pencils and the art. Invisible Woman #1 is also out. Jamie reviewed it. I haven't heard his take on it yet, but Mark Waid is writing Invisible Woman. It's been a minute since she's had a solo series. It's a character that
She's like one of the original badass women of the Marvel Universe.
Yeah, but she hasn't really had her due in solo series over
Fantastic
the years.
Four have been gone for.
Yeah, but Slot's had their going in his.
Yeah, but that's only been a couple.
series.
That's only like.
No, I meant over
10 issues
time.
now?
Like over out of the course of their history, there haven't
she
been
hasn't
many
had that.
spotlights on Invisible Woman. So definitely check that out if you're into the character. Star Wars: Age of Resistance, Captain Phasma. I only bring this up because one, Captain Phasma is one of the biggest letdowns of the new Star Wars movies as far as like potential and what happened. And two, Tom Taylor's writing this.
I do like Tom Taylor.
And Tom Taylor, I mean, 9 times out of 10,
Can
it's
write
money.
anything.
And so he's writing a Phasma book. And it's a one shot. So you want to check it out, I would definitely recommend that. You probably won't regret it. Also, Thor #15 and War of the Realms Omega. I will put these together because I don't know if either of you had a chance to read these.
No.
Yes.
Thor, okay. Thor was just really good and sets up some big things for Thor and Odin. But War of the Realms Omega, I loved. There were 4 stories, and 3 of them. Actually, no, I'll even go 4. 4 of them had me like, oh my God, I want to read that series. It was very much here's 4 new miniseries or 4 new ongoings we have. Here's our pitch. And it almost sold me on every single one of them. There's one for Punisher, there's one for Loki, there's one for Daredevil, and there's one more. And
Daredevil still have
and
Valkyrie
powers for Jane Foster.
Do you have all the seeing powers and stuff still?
No.
Daredevil? Oh, okay.
But what's cool is that they deal with that. Like the whole story is about him and is it Heimdall or Hemedal? I've heard both.
Heimdall.
They actually have a really cool back and
You've
forth.
heard someone
and he
say
does-
Hemedal?
I seriously have. I seriously
You need to stop being friends with that
I was
person.
saying, you still talk to this person.
I still have. We can't agree on Cavill or Cavill
Well, that's a proper name.
in this office.
Yeah, well, that's someone's name.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's Henry Cavill.
It's Cavill.
It's Cavill.
Whatever.
Okay, well, point made. But what's really cool is they deal with that, and I'll do spoiler here. So there is a spoiler warning real quick right here so that I don't get accused of spoiling things for people. He actually gets batons from the World Tree as a gift. Like essentially he takes back his sword, but he gives him these like powered weapons that he can use like going forward. And it's a really cool like back and forth because like Daredevil's really struggling with giving the sword back and he's like, oh hey, you have my sword. It's a really interesting thing. Frank Castle, his really built like if for the first time in forever, I've actually want to go read another Punisher story. It's interesting how they set this up. The Loki one is probably the most interesting, and Valkyrie, because they explain why Jane Foster is going to be the new Valkyrie in her ongoing series, which they've already announced. But this sets it up perfect. Like it really makes that make sense and not just, oh, we had a placeholder. But the Loki one is just a really great story, but also I've been kind of on Loki burnout, especially with like the movies and stuff. I would go
But
back
his
and
but his moment in War of the Realms, I thought was great.
It was good, yeah. And he makes a great commentary on it in this issue. And he's also, by the way, the new king. After all that went down in War of the Realms, he's the new king of the Frost Giants, right? And so it's awesome. So definitely recommend that.
Also,
one,
big key issue because it is the first appearance of Jane Foster as Valkyrie.
yes, that is
for all
actually
you
yes. So if
collectors
you
out
are going to
there.
be collecting, I didn't think about that. That's right. That'll be the first appearance and not her actual
Not
number
her
one.
actual number one.
I miss Jane Foster Thor. I'm just going to be honest.
It's really cool.
I mean, I'm excited for this. I just,
Yeah.
I'm miss.
Oh, I
I
love
miss
that.
her as
And
Thor
just
so much.
honestly though, reading Thor, like Jason Aaron, just man, he just gets that like everything about that. I'm gonna be so sad when he's
I
gone.
mean, it did this as great as Simonson was. Like this is going to be when it's all said. And
This is great, man. He's
this
told
is gonna
such a
be
great
the-
story.
The Thor
Who?
one.
Simonson?
Walt Simonson? Simonson?
Simonson.
Okay, Walter Simonson. Like
See,
it's gonna
it's
be
not just
Yeah,
just
but
Today on how to pronounce
Hemedal.
names.
yeah.
It's beautiful that you missed that. Last but not least, for the people who just like two characters throwing down, Wolverine versus Blade.
There's a Wolverine Captain America book this week too. I just read Weapon Plus.
Weapon Plus.
Weapon Plus.
Sounds like Apple's new.
He's with everybody
warranty
now.
plan.
the Wolverine
just-
streaming service.
It's stupid fun. Like it's just if you like Blade and you like Wolverine, it's gratuitous.
It's so
stupid
crazy
fun.
because this is a book that has been in the works for legitimately like a decade. It was there. Like this book started when I was still working at Marvel. That's how long this book has been just like sitting on a shelf.
Okay, like it was done.
Oh, it was done. Yeah, just well, I think Dave Wilkins like he's because of his style of art takes a bit of time. And so when they originally wanted to solicit it, it wasn't ready, and then it just sat on a shelf. And then I think they fixed it a bit, updated it a little
Yeah.
bit, and now it's out.
It does feel like explaining that makes perfect sense after reading it because it does feel like a very kind of throwback to yesteryear a bit as far as how these kind of play out, very much according to the formula. But it's fun if you like
Because at the time, like this was right about when Wolverine was starting to, like when X-Force first started to come out.
well, he refers to being part of X-Force in the book, and I'm like,
Yeah.
okay,
Right. So that's basically when this book should have come out.
yeah, wow, okay, well that makes all the sense.
Wolverine's
in the
been
world.
through quite a lot in the time
Yeah.
since that.
He's like, yeah, X-Force sent me. I'm like, you haven't been with them for a long time. So yeah, so that is comics this week. Again, we'll have reviews and everything all up on the site today, so check that out. So, Charlie, lead us through Stranger Things season 3. What did you feel about it? Is it better than the first few seasons? Let us know.
So a lot of us got in the office, like in one of the conference rooms, and watched the first few episodes when we got the screeners for them a week or two ago. And I'm not going to lie, after 2 episodes, and I feel like a lot of people I talked to here felt the same way, it really started off rough for me. I was not invested. It was funny and the characters were fine and like the story was okay, but it was really wonky and messy and very forced. And there were a lot of like weird turns for characters I didn't expect, like changes they'd gone through, and it didn't feel right. It really, they were clearly trying to go bigger, but it missed the charm and every great thing about Stranger Things. And I was really stressed about what was going to come because I love the show.
Yeah.
After those first 2 episodes, it's almost like a complete 180. You know, you get in the 3rd episode and it's really, really well paced and well written. And as soon there's like a big set piece scene at the end of the 3rd episode that just kicks off really everything. And from that moment, it's just nonstop. And every episode gets better than the one before it. I think the series finale of this season is one of, if not the best episode of Stranger Things that we've seen.
Wow.
It's really, really, really well done. They go bigger without losing what I thought they were going to lose after the first 2 episodes. It's really, really emotional. I mean, a bunch of us cried watching the finale. It was really, really powerful. A lot of what they deal with in the Upside Down is really exciting, and it's familiar, but I think they find a new way to really make it exciting and to really make it a new story. It's just, it got better and better, and by the end, it is just fantastic.
I never get over that the monsters in that show look like something you'd expect out of a Resident Evil game.
Yeah.
I like the designs though, and this one's very different because of what they deal with. You know, the mind flare comes back, and there's a lot of like hive mind-esque stuff with this monster, and kind of this combining very like The Thing, Invasion of the Body Snatchers, a lot of that going on, and a lot of influence, which movies I love, and so to see those influences, I was really excited.
Expect D&D Mind Flayer sales to go.
Yeah, and I love like there's the kind of an ongoing story of like, Will, the poor kid, like a lot of people have seen at least a couple episodes by now, Will, you know, after getting lost in the Upside Down in season 1 and then kind of like he was kind of still messed up in season 2 and not quite gelling. Like he plays a pivotal role in season 3 because he still has a connection to the Upside Down, but he so badly just wants to like get back the time he lost with his friends, and all he wants to do is like play D&D with his buddies. And because his buddies have been living fairly normal lives for the last couple of years, like they have girlfriends and they want to go do other things and go be at the mall. And like Will just keeps getting left on his own. And it's kind of sad to watch. And it's really, really, you know, it's a really great commentary on like life passing you by and, you know, living in the time that is already gone and trying to like catch up to your life. And, you know, him wanting to remain in what he loved. I mean, he loved the life he had.
Yeah.
And it got taken from him, you know, by no fault of his own. And he hasn't figured out how to get that back yet. And there's some really, really powerful scenes with Will that I don't think are getting talked about nearly enough, but they're really, really good. A lot of the characters really by the end of this had some awesome arcs that I was just in love with.
So question then, because it takes off so much after the 3rd episode, could like someone just skip the first 2, or do they have critical information?
No, they definitely have critical information. Like there are big scenes. You know, the first scene of the new season kind of takes place in Russia a year ago, and like sets up what the whole season is going to be about.
Okay, so
and the end of the first episode really kind of sets up the villain. There are important scenes in there, and there is some fun to be had with those first couple episodes. But you know, all in all, they're just like they're not up to the standard of Stranger Things.
Yeah.
And I thought it was kind of like season 2 kind of declined a little bit, and I thought it was more of a continuation of that, and I was going to be really disappointed. But they really figure it out kind of in episode 3, and it's definitely, I mean, it's an easy one to sit and binge all the way through.
This one, it's a bit of a weird one in the sense that Netflix put out a statistic saying that like over 40 million households watched Stranger Things season 3.
Yeah.
But yet, there's almost zero social chatter around it.
I don't
Really?
see that. I
There's
see a lot.
there's
on my
a
Twitter
bit,
feed.
but there's a bit, but nowhere near the level that I would have expected, given the hype around this show.
I think
And
maybe
this-
just I follow and like interact with so many like TV people. Like my feed is filled with.
Oh
Stranger
yeah,
Things
I mean,
stuff.
don't get me wrong. TV people love this, but I
Yeah.
mean, from a general like
Yeah.
fan base, like just people like talking about it. You know, a lot of stuff that we generally cover as far as like fan reactions and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Nowhere near the amount I would have thought for this.
I think part of that is
And
like,
maybe it's and it's weird because I don't know if it's are people not binging it, are people watching just a couple episodes and then coming back to it, or you know stretching it out over you know an amount of time. And if that's the case, like you know, I think we're about to see another weird shift as far as the binge model of shows
Right.
and things like that, things of that nature, change a bit over these next couple, 6 to 12.
I mean, I think it's already changed so much because like when Netflix was really getting hot with like House of Cards and those, Orange is the New Black, like first season, it was very much like you go home the second it's up, you binge the whole thing.
Yeah.
And
Well, it was like the Marvel shows too. Those early seasons.
And for the second season, Stranger Things was very much like that.
But now you like even with big shows that come out, like I know a lot of people that don't do that anymore. They have the choice, but they just choose not to.
I almost wonder if Game of Thrones season 8 helped people pump the brakes.
Yeah.
And reminded people that like you don't need to watch it all at once.
I think that that's a part of it, and I also think, from a Stranger Things perspective, and this happened with Game of Thrones as well. These latest seasons of those two shows, which are two of the biggest shows in pop culture right now, they had such long gaps between the shows.
Yeah.
And with Game of Thrones, everyone knew that it was going to be ending. And with Stranger Things, there has been a narrative for years now. This is not going to be a forever show. It's going to be 4 seasons, maybe 5, but it's not going to last long because they want to tell a complete story. And so I think when you had to wait a year and a half to get these episodes, when I was talking on July 4th with a lot of people that I was hanging out with, we were talking about like, we're going to take it slow. We want to take it slow. We're not going to binge it tonight because they know that it's kind of this realization like this is finite and we're only going to get this for so long. And we've had to wait already. It's probably going to be another long wait.
Yeah.
We want to savor this.
But see, I would I would say it's the opposite because if you knew this was the final season, you would have binged it. This season did not feel like an event. The promotion wanted you to believe it was an event, but I think when it finally came out, no, I mean, are many people talking about it this week?
In my feed, yes,
I
but
think so.
I also have to discern like, okay, in my feed are a lot of
But you
people
can see,
that are actively in
there's a lot of not many people are writing about it.
Yeah.
Right, they're like sure. There's chatter happening.
We are
in the industry. I mean, but we're not writing near the amount that we thought. Like no one's writing about it. No one's really searching for it online. If it was the final season,
I mean, yeah,
I think that would have been
from that perspective.
That would have been different
a little bit.
Yeah.
But I think there is that notion of like there's not much left, and we want to like.
So do you think next season
space it
will
out.
be the final season?
probably.
I mean,
Four,
it's
I'm gonna say yes.
Be it, yeah.
It's going to be 4 or 5. I mean, it's definitely not over this season.
No.
Like I
And
was
this season did
about
40
halfway through.
million viewer. Yeah.
Well, I mean,
So says Netflix.
About halfway through the season, I was like, oh man, they might end it here.
Yeah.
With this story, and then when it's over, it's very clearly not the end, which
Yeah.
is really exciting. But this kind of feels like that almost over type of thing, where you kind of put the heroes at this point where it's like it could end here and it would not be satisfying, but you would understand it in their lives.
Yeah.
And there's going to be something that kind of kicks it off and brings it back, and one last push to kind of end things. I think they could do probably a 10-episode final season, or split it into like an 8 and 6 or something like that. So, I mean, definitely 4 or 5, but
we're getting close.
Yeah,
we can
yeah,
see
it's not-
we can see it on the horizon.
And you got the kids getting older, and I think that, as much as we love these kids and these characters, if you have these kids as 18, 19-year-olds, you're not going to like it the same kind of way. It doesn't have that nostalgic vibe to it. It doesn't have... I've said for a while now that I think they're going to do, even if it's just one episode, they're going to do an It type of thing where the very end is going to be the adult versions of the kids, maybe for like the finale or something. But they want to keep those kids intact and like that core intact, and so they only have a finite amount of time left.
Makes sense. Yeah. So you can actually go ahead. So Stranger Things season 3 up on Netflix now. You can go ahead and binge it, or you can take it episode by episode, whichever one you choose. You can also give us a listen pretty much anywhere you can find podcasts. So iTunes, you can get us on Stitcher, you can get us on iHeartRadio. You can also get us on Google Play and all of the other podcast apps you like to use. You can also find us on Alexa devices by saying Comic Book Nation, correct?
Alexa, play the Comic Book Nation podcast.
You would know that I don't have...
Is Alexa the Amazon one?
Yes.
Look at you making progress, Matt. Amazon.
Heavy. It's almost
Look
on
at that.
One day it'll be on if Amazon Music actually ever adds a play, like they don't have a podcast thing. So if
But
they
they have
ever add
Alexa.
one, we'll be there.
It's true. This is like through actually TuneIn than anything else.
Yeah. It's not they don't have it yet. they're sleeping on the wheel. Of course, if you send us if you go ahead and on any of those services, especially iTunes, if you go ahead and leave us a review, if you leave us a 5-star review, we will have a chance to shout it out on the show. And if you hear it on the show, you can also get some sweet swag, including a Comic Book Nation t-shirt, which are awesome. They are fantastic looking. So make sure to hit those up. And then if you do, hit us up on Twitter, let us know. So you can also check out our Pokemon podcast every Thursday, correct?
Yep.
Our resident Jim Ascari is on that show as well. Look at him, dual time podcasting. You can find that there, and then you can also check out Comic Book Nation on every Wednesday and Friday. So until next time, check us out. Yep. Enjoy the show.
Yeah, one more Kofi free episode.
That's right, yeah.
And then we're all heading down to Comic-Con.
Booyah! You excited?
I'm excited.
You're excited. All right, so catch you later. Peace.